I know you only gave the introduction to parental alienation at the seminar. You had 3 other topics you could have discussed, and you
Yes.
had no chance to do so.
Yes.
Do you want to give a brief outline of them right now?
Let me see if I can, because each of those sections really are, an in-depth conversation.
Right. Yeah.
So, in the assessment part of parental alienation, I think I would make the point that a complete family history needs to be taken. And again, that each parent and their own unique psychology, as well as the dynamics between the parents, and the psychology of the child, the temperament of the child, and the quality of relationship and relationship dynamics they have with each of their parents. So all of that has to be looked at really thoroughly to understand the process by which the child became alienated, or the process by which the alienation reaction took hold in the child. Where did that come from? What contribution does parent A have and parent B? And what contribution comes from just the psychology and the personhood of the child themselves? How did the divorce come about? What were the family dynamics like before? And all of that will create a map, so to speak, of the child's journey into an alienation reaction. And then we look at, through that very thorough process, we are able to identify the behaviors of each parent that contributed. And we're also able to identify the particular sensitivities of the child and how they were impacted or influenced by the behaviors of the parent.
How long of a process is this, and how expensive is it?
It's about a 2 to 3 month process.
Okay.
And depending on the number of members in the family and the amount of documentation. So has the family been going through litigation for the last 10 years? Have they been going through it for 2? Are they not even divorced yet? So there's not very much. Depends on how much it cost. So an assessment can cost $5,000-$6,000 on the short end of things. It's rather succinct. There aren't file boxes of documentation to go through. And on the other end of things, it can cost $15,000-$20,000 if they've been doing this for years and there have been multiple attorneys involved, multiple CPS records and legal violations, and also if there are multiple children, and are the children at different levels in the alienation reaction? Are they all refusing to go? So sometimes in the process of assessment, I'm talking to school officials from 5 years ago to tell me what was the child's relationship with the parent 5 years ago, so that I can see how this happened. That takes a lot longer than something that has just been going on a year or 2.
So looking at the cost then, I mean, there's a lot of parents, honestly, that can't afford it.
Many.
Yeah.
Who can't afford
There was an attorney that saw me today, and he was talking about a parental alienation case, and I asked him what he did. He said, well, they couldn't afford me, so he gave it to somebody else. And I wanted to ask him the follow-up question, how much were you going to charge? But, I didn't get to ask that question. He moved on to somebody else. And is this something that the state should assist with?
There are counties who do provide help in terms of, for instance, Travis County, which is about 15 miles south of here. They are a large enough county that they have a domestic relations office, and so they have guardian ad litems that can be appointed by the court that are paid by the county. So oftentimes the assessments that I do come within an appointment by the court for a guardian ad litem. That's the role I play.
Okay.
It's a court appointment.
Okay.
It's a neutral position, and the court says there's something going on in this family. The parents are fighting about custody. They each have their own allegations. I need you to figure out what's going on and write a report to the court. So oftentimes a guardian who's in a neutral position and who is a professional with a background in social services can do the assessment piece. And when that is provided for the family and there's no fee for that, then that saves the family a great deal of money. In smaller counties like Williamson County, where I am here, we don't have that sort of option. And so the guardian has to be paid as well as the attorneys. And for many families that does become financially, it's impossible. I see a lot of times, I see family grandparents helping with those costs as they would a higher education or a private school cost.
Yeah, I've had parent friends that have said, they're actually, the grandparents of the kids had to leave retirement and go back to work because they've spent so much money to try to help, and the retirement funds have run out. That's always a struggle to say at what point, and the way that the laws in the state of Texas work, it seems like a lot of times, well, go hire an attorney, but at the end, the decision's already made. Is it the same thing with...
What do you mean?
Okay, so for example, like going back to a divorce situation, when you're served with divorce, you have the right to hire an attorney. And the person who's saying, wait a minute, I don't want the divorce, I don't think there's anything wrong here, can never win. He can spend, or she can spend $300,000 or $1 million, whatever, the attorneys will take whatever you want to spend. But the divorce is still going to go through. It's a done deal. All it's talking about is the division of assets and child custody schedules and stuff like that for the most part. So there comes the point where, is it really even worth spending any money, because all that's going to happen is my assets are going to be transferred to this attorney and this person here and that person there. Nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
Do you see that in the situation here? Because really, a lot of parents that I know are in despair, and they're saying, what can we do? I get people that are asking me stuff, and I said, I don't know this area, but they're always asking, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And a lot of times they're so broken and also broke.
Exactly.
So what can they do?
I don't really know the answer to that. Because the reason I'm a little bit stuck is because I don't know how they get their case heard for their kids without a professional to present it for them. And depending on the size of the county, there are legal aid services and those types of things, but there's a wait list. It's hard to get a good lawyer who really understands family law or really understands parental alienation, if that's what's going on.
And as the clock ticks by in a severe case, what are the odds that reconciliation will take place? Is there a correlation between the more time of severe alienation, the less likelihood that there will be of the reestablishment of that relationship?
Well, definitely. That's why a part of when I speak, and I didn't say this today, but if there is any way to keep that child in contact with that parent, it will save immense cost and time and turmoil for the child when reestablishing the relationship is actually occurring, right? So the intervention is much easier if the child has maintained some contact. It is much harder whenever they've completely stopped that contact with the other parent.
Yeah.
And the longer that goes on, the harder it is. It's excruciatingly painful for the child. Once they've decided there's nothing there, they've entered into that psychologically split state of mind. There's nothing there. I'm not going to have a relationship with that person. I'm not going to ever see them again. And that goes on for a year before a judge ever says, no, we're going to have some reunification. It's agonizing.
So physical child abuse is a crime. Sexual child abuse is a crime. Psychological child abuse, is it a crime or not?
It is a crime.
Really?
In my mind.
In your mind?
In my mind,
From,
it's a crime.
From a legal viewpoint.
Oh. Well,
I'm sorry. No, I
in my mind, it's the worst thing you can do to a child,
yes,
right?
absolutely.
The corruption of their innocent and loving attachments to other people in their lives. It's the worst form of abuse. But from a legal standpoint, I don't know that I could answer that question.
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what the law says about that.
So a couple of weeks ago, I was at a convention. It was a forum to meet different political candidates, and they ranged from very conservative to very liberal. And it was very interesting to hear that a couple of these judges said what you just said. Parental alienation is the worst form of child abuse. The entire spectrum of people who would address it, it is the worst form of child abuse. And
that's promising.
Yeah,
it's promising.
It is promising, and yet there's still such a lack of awareness
yes.
about how bad it is.